got a green light from the tower to come in. And by that time, to keep the plane flipping on its back, I was doing 190 miles an hour. I was flying with the throttles. So I circled around to come in, head into that 65 mile an hour gale, put flaps down, doing 190 miles an hour, and how they weren't torn off, I'll never know. But anyway, it had snowed, and that snow was melting on that short fighter runway. And with my speed, I was down the runway a ways before I stalled out. And I saw a big ravine, 100 feet or so out at the end of the runway. And I told my co-pilot, I said, unlock the tail wheel. So I kicked that 4-engine bomber sideways, went off the end of the runway sideways. And I still had enough sense left to pull on the throttle and get out of there before I mired down. Because I knew if I mired down, I'd probably tie up the base. So we got up on the taxiway, and I stopped for a moment, and my co-pilot said, let's rest a while. And there was 4 or 5 fighter pilots up in the tower watching this. And they said, man, I never thought a B-17 would do that kind of. I said, I never practiced that either. And I said, it turned out. But anyway, that night after the wind died down some, I wanted to get the plane home so it could be available for a flight next day. And when I started to make a turn on the final approach, the tower said, you're getting too low. I said, yeah, I know it. I said, the wind is blowing me into the ground. So I managed to pour on coal and fight that wind and get it down. And we got home by midnight, I guess. But that was one landing that as long as I live, I'll never forget. And we told the ground crew to be sure and check landing gear. They said, checked out fine. And you know, I've thought about that a lot of times. When this pilot in Chicago went through the fence onto an automobile and killed this little boy in the back seat, I thought if that pilot had just pulled off what I did, ground looped that plane to avoid going out onto the highway, I said he'd have felt a whole lot better about what he did, even if he may have damaged the airplane some. But I finished the tour and came home, and I was supposed to go to Miami Beach for next assignment. They changed it to Greensboro, ORD, Overseas Replacement Depot. And there I took the examination for a commercial pilot, passed it, and got a commercial license. But I made a decision to get out because I had enough points. If you had so many points, you could get out of the Air Force. And I went back to school at UNC, Chapel Hill, got a degree in accounting, and I graduated in 1947 in July, and I went to work for Western Electric in Winston-Salem in August. I had a degree in accounting, about as far from flying as you can get. And I never used the commercial license, even though I flew with several buddies that had airplanes, but somehow or other, I had had enough. So I spent 37 years in accounting, most of it in management, with finally retired from AT&T in 1984. 2 months after I retired, I had a heart attack